go for the rest of the day. And 2 more tomorrow. 3 in total tomorrow, but I'm only casting 2. So we have a long day still ahead of us. With Dream Chasers going 1-0 up. First players do have map choice. Sorry, this is Dream Chasers' map choice. They have chosen Haven. We will be seeing them defend first. I'm pretty much ready to go in this game, but hold on to your hats. At the same time, Hip has already beaten Godsent 2-0. Just to update you on that. It took a while because I was like, oh, the first map's done. It's like, no, they lost 2-0 in 13-3 fashion, so. But you're glad that you got the close game in these guys. So Hip is now 1-1. Godsent 0-2. So fair to say that Godsent won't be qualifying for the playoffs that will be happening in a few weeks' time. Hip still have life, but still a lot to ask for. If Dream Chasers win this, I think it's fair to say that they qualify. If Worst Players wins this, again, more likely that they qualify, especially if they go up against Godsent and beat them afterwards. They're still yet to play. But like I said, we will be playing on Haven. Dream Chasers will be attacking first. I'd be interested to see what kind of lineups that they decide to play.
Select your agent.
That is the woman telling me to select my agent, even though I am only a spectator. Big shout out to the Spike.gg for supporting this tournament and also providing all of the stats, breakdowns and stuff so you can keep an eye on exactly how these teams are playing, who's top fragging, who's, the hero, who's the zero. And currently there's been a lot of attention, certainly that I've put on Emilio, who has top fragged every single game that we've watched, and I would assume would be on top of this group in regards to kills. Maybe at the end of the day we do like the player of the group, like player of the day. Brought to you by the Spike.gg, how about that? I'm just sort of making stuff up as I go on, but yeah, we'll highlight some players worth watching, but I think if Dream Chasers can keep up their momentum, you certainly have to give a shoe into Emilio, who, much like the rest of the Dream Chasers, is pushing onto the A site slowly. Needs to be careful of Dimasic, that is actually pushing very aggressively towards Banana, gets caught completely open. Juno is still on this site. Tripwire is going to give some intel, and his position is not necessarily giving up. The double glance from Kicker makes it awkward for them, but he's still able to get the kill. The wall is going to just short things. A weird bounce, actually, from the cyber cage off the wall. So he's going to yeet one a little bit further. Not activated just yet. They have time to play for, but they weren't spotting Arch that was in this top that decided to opt out of the breach and opt in for the Phoenix. Now we'll look at the team lineups later on, but this plant is in and it's fairly healthy from the Dream Chasers, who still have 4 alive. They're in a 4 versus 3. Chihuahua's still going to try and push onto the site. King Cobra is able to kill 2, making it just 1 left. Chihuahua that's going to try and defuse, has to face off against 2 and really doesn't have time, so he can just try and confirm the frag. Wasn't expecting Emilio, that came in a little bit late. Ooh, and narrowly does get hit by Spike deploying. 1-0 to the Dream Chasers, who have pretty much been in the lead all day. It'd be an assortment of guns bought. Chihuahua's going to be pretty miffed off, considering that they got 3 kills, but to be fair, it was in the last breath. It all happened from Dimasic just pushing a bit too aggressively, a bit carelessly on this defense. You can't give teams like Dream Chasers those kind of opportunities. But now the defense giving up both the outside sites. Going to stock together towards mid and maybe push through there aggressively. But all that noise that was made from Zaj and Emilio pushing in is going to have this defense rotating in. They can be this headstrong, but they have to be a bit more careful, as Juno, with the right click of the classic, does get a kill, does eventually die. There's only going to be one left now, which is going to be Chihuahua, who does still get a kill, so he's still able to do a few bits and pieces, but slowed off. King Cobra clears it up. Fairly standard expectation of what was to happen. But now we can start to see this defense being able to buy some of the bigger guns, whilst we still see a couple members of Dream Chasers holding on to your Bulldogs, your Spectres, whatever they were holding on to beforehand. Oh, whoops. Fortunate that you missed those 2 rounds. It's completely my bad, but fixed in the end. I'd be lying if I said that you missed too much, but in any case, we do see Dream Chasers 2-0 up. They are a couple of people down, so if you were to lean towards a team winning this round, it would certainly be the defenders. Dibasik gets 2, so now there's only going to be the 1 left. But Emilio's been able to do a lot, but fortunately can't do much there. Dibasik gets a kill. We can have a look at the scores now, in regards to who has money and who doesn't. There's also somebody asked before if there's drops on this stream. I don't think so, because drops for every stream have stopped, because obviously the bait is going down in, what, 5 days? So it's not really as applicable. Pipson's positioning is given up. The attackers of Dream Chasers are stocking up on that side, but not necessarily dedicating too much, especially with the spike being towards window and mid. But they are certainly looking to push in that direction, with Zaj holding very close on this double doors position of the map. It's walled off, so there's very little they can do. They have to dedicate a bit of utility in order to break it, namely the Ray Satchel. But now you can sort of see that Worst Players have responded. They have bolstered their defense on this side. Chihuahua is going to back off a little bit, heal up the teammate, but gives up the whole of double doors. So that push is going to come in very aggressively. King Cobra is going to try and force something with the showstopper, but for an incendiary, through Arch getting a kill, I believe, very little can happen as Dimasik's trying to rotate around all the way, but is now left with Juno, who's walled off with the operator. It's going to shock dart towards the back, but nobody is there. It's only going to be holding the 2 on the side, but that shock dart actually from Juno does get the pick nicely. It is just Emilio now, and the 1 versus 2. The Neural Theft was dedicated, so that he does have a good inkling that they are there. Tries to take the engagement, but goes down to 17 health. Doesn't have the heal ready. Picks off Juno. It's now going to be the Cypher Dimasik that tries to get it, and Emilio, clutching where it mattered, looked very up in the air for a second there from Dream Chasers, but gradually managed to win out. Even with some really nice plays from Juno with the shock bolt. Very little to decide between these teams though, but it's those fights, it's those rounds that become really important in settling who is the better team out of these lineups. And if we're looking at what that means for the rest of it, we are seeing these teams again, trading rounds, having big guns, able to try and dedicate a lot more. Recon Bolt's going to come through again, but this time Pipson isn't going to give away his positioning. Instead rotates around, but nobody's necessarily going to follow up through that smoke. The Recon Bolt is going to be used on this attack. Double doors is clear, but we're not necessarily seeing King Cobra dedicate to that just yet. Zadge's positioning is going to get given away. It's going to decide to try and use a couple of abilities. Maybe Curveball, but decides against it with Blaze. Conceal where they are as they use it as a way to escape, or at least rotate around. It even uses to run it back, but as you're going to see, everybody just starts to back off a little bit. Yeah, Juno is just running away completely. All the space looks open for Zadge. Both of the Phoenixes actually dedicate their ultimates and see very little because of it. But now this attack is coming through on this A site. Nobody's shown themselves on the defense as of yet, but a couple of bits of utility. Molly's coming through, and actually, that's going to be a pretty strong ultimate coming out of Juno. Is trying to tag somebody, hits nobody, but it doesn't matter because Chihuahua's there to try and follow up from heaven. There's now only going to be one left. It's in this corner. That's going to be Kicker. He tries to tag on somebody, but gives his position in away. Chihuahua gets free. Defense was very patient there, almost giving up the site for free to worse players. Zadge with the running back did create a lot of space for his team. That's very much true, but really struggling in that retake. And yet again, we're seeing both these teams taking rounds off each other. This is eventually where we started to see Dream Chasers pull that lead that allowed them to win on binds. Can they do something similar here? That's sort of the question that remains to be seen. Ultimate dedicated for Hunter's Fury, but doesn't hit anything. But Chihuahua is holding down double doors in a fairly healthy way, but when you have so little guns on this attack, Shorty, Classic, Ghost, only so much that you can do. And the Resurrect dedicated on the defense, which isn't necessarily a bad play, because it means that the gun is saved. They can go into this pretty much flawless if they want to. Key Cobra does get Chihuahua though, so the economy benefit is not really paying off. And Neural Theft dedicating on its defense, maybe not even necessary considering the kill followed up fairly quickly, but nevertheless, West Players decided that it was worth dedicating to. Both teams are tied on score. There's a certain cadence to how the ultimates are used in this game especially. The tempo is a lot slower, but plays are a bit more deliberate. There's only the Resurrect available on this attack that Dream Chasers have. Orbital Strike available on the defense. So that's why they're holding off a little bit on this B site. They almost want to tempt them to maybe go there. They could just plant an Orbital Strike on top, but if Pipson is aware that there's so many people in double doors, which no doubt his team is shouting out, but it doesn't necessarily matter actually. His Chihuahua's going to clear up completely. Again, missing all of the action, but so Cypher is going to push through this doorway, followed by the Owl Drone. Chihuahua has control over the spike. Bit of a misplay. They weren't necessarily sure that Chihuahua could be holding there, but now there's only going to be one alive. That's going to be safe. That was pushing through tunnel, but Pipson puts that one to bed. Now we're starting to see West Players take a lead. A couple of misplays, I feel. An important round for the Dream Chasers. Don't necessarily know if they'll be able to buy here. Doesn't look likely. So what is expected to happen is that worst players extend that lead a little bit. Rotating these ultimates out nicely. Both these teams are just trying to use them at a certain cadence, not overusing them in certain rounds and then not using any the next. Trying to keep things up at the moment, but that's going to be an ultimate actually coming out of Arch on this defense. And as you can see, the whole of this attacking side is just disengaging. In fact, engaging sort of onto the C site where the orbital strike's going to be planted. Chihuahua kills Kicker, who so far... Chihuahua's having an exceptional game. It's going to rotate around. Plant is not necessarily even coming in. The spike is awkwardly placed, and all of this time and utility and space that's given up is all for naught. But King Cobra is able to get one. Dimasic is following up for two. Then Chihuahua again is just on fire. There's only one left now that's going to be safe. Could have worked out really well for the attackers. Could have worked out really well for worst players. It could have done something with a pretty null round, but eventually we do see worst players again taking it. Now, you should expect both these teams to be able to buy, but look at the economy on this defending side. They can pretty much buy whatever they want and have money to boot for the next couple of rounds, especially Juno. And Dream Chasers trying to buy, doing what they can. Awkward, but not impossible. Pretty much been following that team all day and will continue to do that in the match afterwards, which will be Hip versus Dream Chasers. Hip bouncing back in pretty good fashion considering they got a 2-0 win over Godsend. For a bit of a wobbly losing to the team that's leading currently, worst players, but nevertheless... back into winning form. Spike is headed towards this A site. Aren't necessarily spotting the way out, but Emilio just takes off Juno's head clean off. And running back is dedicated to trying to scout some information, maybe even get a frag, but can't necessarily do that. Just knows the connector's going to be hit hard, but Chihuahua is slowly going to make their way into a position from heaven, but Neural Theft does give them up completely, so a lot of utility is going to be thrown their way. It's only them, and it's only Arch that's left that decided to back out cleanly, but need to be careful actually, as there is going to be a rotating Phoenix that is probably going to catch them off guard. Knows that they're likely here, so they can't be necessarily expecting it. Now they've cornered where Arch is, who has the operator, and they very much want to take it off of him. The Classic is the one that comes in, and he's 90 in health, is trying to survive against an onslaught push, but Kiko eventually gets him down. Are they going to even take the operator? Most likely. They're going to the next round. Now the attacker is able to sort of do stuff. The attack is taking it relatively easily. Both teams have guns. Emilio is holding on to the operator. No doubt that they took from Arch, which might have taken it from Emilio to begin with. Dimasic does spot a couple of legs. Was staying in his camera, which has now been destroyed. The attack is still looking to go towards this direction. Showstopper is ready for King Cobra if he decides to use it, and Resurrect just in case things go badly. Emilio could do that, but it seems that they're just going to rotate away. They have time to switch it around if they want to. But we have seen Dream Chasers sort of stay where they are. Worst players even stay where they are. Make sure that C doesn't get hit. So it's looking like it's going to be a B push, which should be relatively safe. But Chihuahua is keeping a keen eye on it. Now knows that this is the site to go for. Showstopper's going to be used. The satchel allows them to sort of jump on the high ground, but nobody's been spotted. Everybody's sort of giving up their position, and they're trying to find a nice angle that is going to get the pick up to Juno that just peeks a bit too wide and shows a bit too much skin. The Resurrect is going to bring him back, though, as Dimasic does get the kill onto Zaj. King Cobra is killing Chihuahua from distance, is lining up these headshots with a Vandal and gets 4. There's only one left alive now, which is going to be Arch. Can they get the ace? At least keep him at bay. Now, Kicker's going to take it off of him. He's going to be pretty upset about that, but really strong play out of the Raze. The Showstopper to get the kill. The nice placement to line up those frags. The Resurrect allowed him to get 4 frags, even though he would have got an ace with 6 players total on the side. It's a 5v5. This game going the distance. Milo getting a pick onto Juno. Opens up this site pretty much instantly, but there are more people holding towards A. We do have the Cypher, and we do have Breach on the Phoenix that's still holding there. And again, just maybe teasing that they're going there. The Eldron is going to be used, but doesn't necessarily get them any intel, so the rotation might come out yet again, but they need to be careful of Dimasic. They could push a bit aggressively and keep an eye towards further down on lobby. Nothing's been pushed yet, but it's tentative on this attack. Zaj looks like he's just keeping an eye if anybody's going to push, but right now there's nothing really going on. You just see Safe looking side to side, isn't necessarily sure what they want to do, but they're baiting out Dimasic now that's going to aggressively push. Gets a kill onto King Cobra. And now it forces the attackers to move, who so far have been pretty lackadaisical, but it doesn't matter too much as they're opening up onto the site now. There's only Dimasic there. Takes the engagement against Zaj, who isn't really going to allow them to do too much. There's now only 2 alive on this defense. It's going to be hard for them to try and do something, but Pipson is just going to go in. Absolutely no favor. Kicker takes him down. Now it's just Chihuahua who decided against it. Yet again, Dream Chasers are going to take a round and take a lead. So just make sure that no money can go out. We go into the last round of this half. Pretty much buy whatever you can, use whatever you can. Ideally, yet again, Dream Chasers want to be going into this half with an advantage that they can take with them. They led the line on bind, but they did defend first. And the defense wasn't too bad, so this advantage that they get now can be extended, especially if they win the pistol round in next. Zaj with no fear is just keeping his eye onto onto B. With a couple of body blocks coming in. Double duelist composition that they're running is sort of paying off so far, but there's still a lot more to be seen. A lot of information is going to be scouted from Safe, who knows exactly, or at least roughly, where Chihuahua is on the Sage. Going to shock bolt over there. Doesn't connect. So far 40 seconds have been wasted on this attacking side with nobody really going anywhere. You can sort of see Zadish waiting out the wall and then dedicating and run it back. He's going to try and scatter whatever he can. Now they're going to run onto Chihuahua, who again is just disengaging or taking a bit of a wider angle. Doesn't get all that much, but it doesn't matter as Emilio and King Cobra are pushing through. Misses the operator shot. But the spike does get planted. The heals are coming up, and they're just going to give up mid because they are a little bit scared of some of the utility that they have. And Pipson especially is trying to do some work, but unfortunately can only do so much. Shell stuff again going to be used by King Cobra, who gets a triple kill onto Chihuahua, but dies in the process. And there it's going to be Kicker. It's going to clear it up. Pipson was the last alive. We do see a bit of a lead developing yet again from the Dream Chasers. This is the scores as they appear. But once Emilio is not top fragging, in fact King Cobra has twice as many kills. The near enough ace certainly helped, but it's actually Chihuahua that's on the losing side currently. It's top fragging in this game. Total, Pipson and Juno not having the same effective use that they did have on Bind. They had some really nice plays there, but not really paying off all that much. Let's see what happens in this half now. A lot of information to sort of go over, but you can imagine Dream Chasers taking the pistol round, and in the round following, that extends their lead to 9-5. And certainly winning this match and getting into those qualifiers in a couple of weeks' time becomes that ever-present. Planet's going to come in. Gino is able to sort of get it planted down, but bit of a congregation of them on the seaside. But what I guess is more interesting is that Dimasic is holding this rotation. Almost bizarre out of defense that I'm not really dedicating too much to this at all. Like, time is very much not on their side, but the Aldron is going to get scouted out. Emilio does kill Dimasic. They were just toying with each other towards the bottom of the map. And now Safe explosively pushing onto the side. But Juno's still going to get that kill. It's currently 2 versus 2. King Cobra pushing on. But Juno gets 4. Clears him out. I said he had a quiet half. And that's just pretty much double the kill count that he had before. Near enough. Suddenly that lead the Dream Chasers are developing is starting to dwindle yet again. Just a bit of an odd defense, to be honest. They didn't react to anything. They just sort of gave up a lot of space, and you can't give players like Juno all that freedom, or stuff like that happens. Slow on this defense so far. This attack is going to make their presence known to an extent, but weren't expecting to see Safer on the corner, but it didn't matter too much. They got the kill anyway. Juno is still, again, leading the line when it comes to frags, and oh dear. There wasn't too many guns really on the defended side, of course, because they didn't have economy going for them, but still, they've given up a lead now, score is 7-all. Be interesting to see where things go from here. It feels like worse players are able to take control of space a lot easier than they could before. And of course, if they win this game, we'd go to split in the decider. Dream Chasers obviously don't want that to happen. They have a big game against Tip following, and if they can win this, they can go into that game with a bit more freedom. Trade coming through, and a bit of damage chipping away with an aggressive defense that has Chihuahua cornered. The hot hands is going to be used, but Chihuahua is able to kill Zaj and upgrades their weapon now to a Phantom. It's a 3v3 with a battle in mid seeming to be happening, but Dimasic makes it a 3 versus 2. Only 2 defenders left, Kicker and Safe, that are trying to box in Dimasic here, that managed to do so, but the spike is towards C. They aren't necessarily sure of that, so they don't want to make too much noise. You can keep an eye to where they're going, but that peek is going to be awkward for Safe, who didn't have his gun out. And Kicker is the only one left. Has information pinged on the map, but might be looking to the left when they're actually on this right-hand side. Gets 1 and can't get 2. Chihuahua triple kills. Another awkward round on this defense. The first that they could buy, and have now not only given up their lead, but lost it entirely. Regards to money now, it's pretty much a half buy on the defense. Frags now stocking up for Chihuahua quite handsomely. Juno now second on frags, but still half of what Chihuahua has currently. Like, having a much louder game on the Sage and walled off one side of B that, so far again, Dream Chasers are not really reacting. They're giving this up completely. That just spamming a little bit, but all of that space was given up now, and he's getting wallbanged a little bit. Has to use the hot hands to heal himself up, and defense gave up a lot of space and dies because he sort of stood a little bit in the other one. Bit of an odd play, but Arch is able to get a kill with a Spectre onto Kicker, pretty much holding on to that since the start of this side, I feel like. Spike has been planting onto B, and Safe can only do so a little before he's just taken out. Can't even think about making a play. And Emilio is just going to rotate all the way around. So much space was just given up for free. It was kind of unfortunate to see it play out like that, but currently look at this streak that we're seeing out of worst players. Ultimates are starting to build on this defense, though, if they could use them properly, but walled them off. Actually, the defuse might come in. I don't know if he necessarily has enough time. It'll be tight. Actually, no. Nope, not quite. Worth a try, but not quite enough. Gotta do better than that, unfortunately, if you are Dream Chasers. Confirmation that Hip's team beat Godsend 2-0 in total. First game 13-3, second 13-2, so very decisive in their name. Godsend struggling so far, alongside the Dream Chasers, who are now on a bit of a downward spiral. This defense is really not paying off for them at all, and worst players are able to punish that quite considerably. Getting the first pick straight away into King Cobra. He's lost, and that's going to be a run it back. And Zaj is able to sort of trade the pick and even dedicate his own ult. Emilio can get the operator shot. Zaj is just holding on to this angle. Isn't afraid to push necessarily, just because obviously he's dedicated his ultimate. That Incendiary's bought a little bit of time. With ultimates used, the Resurrect is going to be hit. And on this attack, Juno's going to use Hunter's Fury. That gives away the positioning a little bit. Notice that a lot of people have rotated, but they're going to change up side completely, but the rotation is going to be met. But we do see Zaj just making sure that it's not on B, but it's more likely going to be C. But they have to keep an eye on that. And the Resurrect dedicated, making it to a 5 versus 4. A lot of big ultimates here. Like, I'm pretty sure if you're Dream Chasers and you lose this, it's pretty much over. That showstopper wasn't stopping the show necessarily just yet. Didn't hit anything, but Zaj is able to do that. There's a lot of trading going on onto the site, and now starting to finally see the defenders pick up a round. A lot was dedicated, and Juno still get the triple kill. Didn't matter though. King Cobra and Kicker was still alive to get those frags, and really felt that up until this round they weren't able to get any kills at all. Could see this going all the way to overtime, but for that to happen, we do need to see Dream Chasers come back into it a little bit. They dedicated the showstopper, they dedicated the run it back, they dedicated the resurrect, all in one round, and they narrowly still won. Can they do something more with neural theft that they have available? Or the Hunter's Fury that will be coming online fairly soon from Safe. There's no ultimates for quite some time, at least for worst players. Dimasic does have neural theft if you could get one more currency of ult charge. But of course, right now, nothing dedicated too much. Double Doors is looking to be hit. King Cobra is going to want to make sure that that can't happen. The smoke is going to be a clear indication of that, so King Cobra is just going to sit inside of it. And Archer's going to push on through. He's going to run right into a flash kicker. Still gets one, but Chihuahua is able to trade. Emilio is keeping an eye towards B. There is a bit of clumping there, but the site is going to get planted. Hunter's Fury used on this defense, but I don't necessarily think it can reach This far does connect onto somebody. I think it would be the Sage, yeah. Chihuahua dedicating a heal to bring themselves back up. This is going to be a really tough retake if you are Dream Chasers. You've very little to use, no ultimates ready, but a bit of intel given up. Shot Bolt's going to chip away at Chihuahua, but the second one doesn't necessarily connect, so no damage is done. Just going to see Dream Chasers now save, like they didn't even really want to take the engagement. Just gave it up, used a bit of utility, and then decided it wasn't worth it. A lot of time wasted, and I think worst players are really showing some of the cracks, I suppose, in this Dream Chasers lineup. Things not looking that good. A bit uncomfortable, a bit indecisive. And I wouldn't necessarily say that worst players put them under a lot of pressure in order to make that happen. I kind of want to do something towards A with a bit of recon and a couple of spams of the ping system. Jepson creating a bit of space for himself on C, but does it decide to do anything with it? This defense is scared of double doors, but nobody's pushed into there yet. Chihuahua, who has been so prominent in this game so far. Haven't seen many fraggers close to 30. Rico Ball's going to come in and pretty much be instantly destroyed. It was a good lineup, but didn't necessarily work. But I guess what's even more pressing is that Sipes' position has been given up. Emilio doesn't manage to trade for them, though. Arch is able to get in just in the gap between Emilio's shots to get that kill on a very close proximity Sova. The A-site is looking to be hit, and Emilio just wasn't aware of it. Was no doubt locked into his scope. Chihuahua's going to use the wall to try and get a bit of high ground. Hasn't spotted anybody just yet, but knows that King Cobra's there. He's going to spray, get kicker. Reload comes in so awkwardly, but King Cobra still goes down because of Pipson. It's now just going to be the one left on Zaj, who is being spotted. Timing. Chihuahua looks away at the wrong time completely, and Zaj is just going to bullet onto the site. Has two more people to take down, and he's in a crossfire. Isn't looking behind him. Worst players are 2 away from winning this round, are taking it to a third map on split. Pretty much going the distance, but right now it's looking like Dream Chasers are in freefall. 1 round in 7. The round that they did win, they won by throwing the kitchen sink at it, basically. Now they have to eco. Have to try to do something, force a play, but money is very much not on their side. Just got to play to make sure it doesn't go into match point. Comfortable from worst players. Best we've seen of them so far. Starting to understand how they were able to beat Hip. Wasn't really that noticeable, I suppose, from Bind, but you can understand why they wanted to play on Haven. Running back is used, Arch is pushing in aggressively, he's low on health, but of course because it's his ultimate, it doesn't necessarily matter too much. Nobody lost on this attacking side. As Pipson gets a rotation onto King Cobra, is going to run into Sage, Safe even. Is holding with a Judge on an awkward angle. Their positioning is going to completely be given up. Troy gets warned, there is going to be Emilio running through mid that might push and rotate around fairly aggressively with a frenzy, but it can at least pick up one of these guns and try and do something with it. Certainly not looking around it, but their position is given up by the tripwire. Immediately, you're going to see Dimisic just turn around to try and deal with that. They know that the last player alive is there, and the plant's going to come in. This might be a relatively easy save, with Emilio just holding on to whatever guns that he can. It's a long game to say the least, but it might be over fairly soon. Worst players go on to match point. And in this game, they certainly don't look like the worst players. This defense is falling apart completely. The lineup that Dream Chasers is running is just not really giving them too much of an impact. Missing particular characters. Brimstone, which you often see some teams run without on Haven, but Breach. It's not paying off well for them. Ultimate's more available on this attacking side. With economy, it's fairly similar. Pretty much all of the defenders holding on to what they have, but still have one person go down. You're going to be without Raze. I keep out their lineup that has been in previous maps, but hasn't really done too much so far, at least on Haven. It's a 3 versus 4 in this attacking lineup, but Kicker's able to get some. Dimasick is positioned and is giving up, but is still able to kill Kicker. Neural Theft is going to give up exactly where Emilio is. Has the operator, needs to do some absolute magic. Going to be hard to do. No point in saving. Just got to try and make a play somehow. You can see how defensive these lineups are. Wallbangs are coming in and Emilio is struggling to hit the shots. That's going to be it. We got to a deciding map. Worst players able to sort of win this out. 13-8. As we head over to split fairly shortly. Very surprising that it's gone all this distance, I must say. Especially with how good Dream Chasers looked on Bind. We'd sort of expect them to take that fairly easily, but this is the first best of 3 that we've seen in this tournament so far. Go all the distance. Chihuahua not necessarily getting the 30 bomb just yet. And in pretty strong fashion. We're going to go for a quick break. Must I get myself a drink because I am losing my voice a little bit. Hence why the casting's been a little bit more dulcet tones, I suppose, than height. But this game is pretty good between both these teams that pretty much look neck and neck. We'll be back very shortly for the conclusion of this game. West Players versus Dream Chasers. 1-1 apiece as we go to split. Well, don't go anywhere.